Water. It covers the majority of our planet. It makes up most of the life on this planet. It has the power to shape and sculpt our planet. It can be calm and peaceful or powerful and raging. And it's an important factor in who Bowman's Hill Wildflower Preserve is today. So join us as we explore this important resource and the areas in and around the water's edge. Bowman's Hill Wildflower Preserve is part of the Delaware River watershed. What's a watershed? Well, it's an area of land that will collect and filter all of the rainwater that falls or precipitates on it. That means here at the preserve, all of the rain and melting snow will flow over the surface and eventually make its way into Pidcock Creek, which flows into the Delaware River. Eventually, that water will make its way to Delaware Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. This repetitive movement of precipitation to evaporation to condensation and back is the basis of what we know as the water cycle. So imagine a watershed like a big bowl, or in this case, cup of cereal. As our milk or rainwater pours over the cereal, some of it will flow over the surface, some of it will infiltrate the ground. All right, but no matter where we pour that milk, rainwater over the top, it'll all collect at the basin of this watershed. Now, just like rainwater flowing over the surface of our ground, it's going to pick up pollutants and contaminants along the way. Delicious. You can experiment with water filtration at your home using a few simple components. Using our milk jug as the base of our watershed, we'll build our own riparian buffer. By adding cotton balls, charcoal, sand, some gravel, we'll create a filtration system that'll behave just like the soil around us. Now, all we need is some contaminated water. Remember our cereal from earlier? As you can see, these many layers behave just like the soil around us, picking up all the fine particles and pollutants, leaving us with relatively clean water at the end. Water has been a major factor on our planet for millions of years. In fact, the majority of water we have on Earth today has been around long before you, I, or even the dinosaurs were roaming about. And water is so crucial to life here on this planet, it's important that all parts of the water cycle are clean and free of pollutants. Researchers who study the water have many ways to tell how clean an area of water is, but one of the simplest and easiest is to explore and see what creatures are living there.
We know that Bowman's Hill Wildflower Preserve focuses on native plants, so then why are we standing in Pidcock Creek? Everything in our environment is connected in some way. The study of this connection is called ecology. When we look at things from an ecological perspective, we see that plants rely on wildlife for reproduction and dispersal, and wildlife rely on plants to stay healthy. Small changes in weather, water quality, or species survival can send the whole system haywire. Pidcock Creek is a tributary of the Delaware River. The Delaware River is a major source of drinking water for Philadelphia, PA. Pidcock Creek helps bring clean, fresh water to all our plants, carries rainwater away, and serves as an important home for all kinds of creatures. Macroinvertebrates, or macros for short, are the young or child forms of insects you might already be familiar with. These species are more important to their environment than they may look. One major role they serve is to eat dead plants and animals and then cycle those nutrients back into the environment, since they're a great treat for many of our fish and birds. Since these creatures need to live and breathe and eat in the water, pollution affects every aspect of their lives. These creatures exist across different tolerance levels, meaning that when they start to disappear, we know that something must be wrong. So a rocky place like Pidcock Creek is the perfect place to look for these creatures. The rocks give the macros a great place to hide. When scientists investigate a stream, they're hoping to find a lot of different species living there. Seeing species across a range of tolerance levels means that the water must be pretty clean. So let's take a look in Pidcock Creek and see what we find. This is a caddisfly larva. What's special about caddisflies is that they actually build their own little houses out of rocks or sticks. This one's built a house out of some pebbles. Now, caddisflies can only survive a very, very small amount of pollution, so it tells us that our creek's pretty healthy.
We can see that pollution can have a direct result on the animals that can live in the water, and this pollution can come in many forms. Typically, we think about trash, oil, or large things that we can see, but fertilizers, pesticides, plastic, even the soil itself can be a major source of pollutants. If you've ever looked at a river or stream after a heavy rainstorm, you might notice that it looks a little bit browner than usual. This is from particles of soil that were carried into the water from the heavy rain. This soil can not only clog the gills of fish and other creatures living in the water, but it can also make the water warmer and reduce the amount of air available for those creatures to breathe. Pidcock Creek is responsible for one of the most magical seasons here at the preserve. In fact, our Perry Trail runs through a floodplain that was carved into the landscape by Pidcock Creek itself. Snowmelt in the spring provides ample water and nutrients in the soil and provides a perfect environment for our spring ephemerals. These include things like Virginia bluebell, marsh marigold, wood poppies, one of our personal favorites, twin leaf, and many more. Not only does the water quality affect the plants that grow along the banks, but those plants along the banks have a direct effect on the water quality itself. These areas along the stream banks are known as riparian buffers, and they're the river's first line of defense against pollutants that are entering the waterway. Also, the branches and leaves of the vegetation that grow along the creek provide the creek with shade, helping to keep the water cool and filled with oxygen. The best plants to use in a riparian buffer are native plants. They're better than non-natives at holding the soil in place. They don't require lots of attention or special care since they've grown in that area for many, many years. And they're a great source of food and shelter for the local wildlife. As we've seen, native plants play a critical role in the health of a stream and the watershed that they're a part of. To continue learning about watersheds and life around the water's edge on your own, check out our activity guide, available at both the Visitor Center and on our website. Remember, the next time you visit the preserve, to bring the activity guide with you, as some of those activities are intended to be done here. I want to thank you all for joining me again, and until next time, keep on experiencing what's natural and learn what's native.